You want to hear that story? All right, for Stacks and them, I was about to buy Stacks to get Max and Melly a whole brownstone in New Jersey.
No disrespect to Jim Jones. The Fifth had me in Battery Park. I could walk out that motherfucker barefoot. He in position. Rest in peace of Stack, but Stack got killed in the project in the port.
Yeah.
God planned for you to come here and spaz on y'all niggas tonight.
Jim Jones didn't just speak, he exploded. During his interview on Memphis Bleak's podcast, the second he mentioned Tony Yayo's name, the whole vibe shifted. What started as a casual rap conversation flipped into pure tension in seconds. You could literally hear the frustration in Jim's voice, like years of bottled-up energy finally bursting out. But this wasn't just random heat. This had roots, deep ones, buried in New York rap history. This wasn't about ego. This was about legacy, loyalty, betrayal, and wounds that never fully healed. To understand why it got this real, you have to trace it back, through years of subtle disses, coded interviews, and alliances that kept this Cold War alive. Jim tried to keep it light at first, bragging about his grind, his tours, his global reach, and how he doesn't need anyone's cosign to move. But beneath the flex, there was shade. He compared how 50 Cent brings him out on stage versus how Jay-Z treats his people. You don't see Bleak out there when Hall's on tour with Beyoncé. Jim said, his tone cutting through the MIC, that's her tour, not his. He wasn't just talking tours. He was talking about respect, hierarchy, and who really rides with their team when the spotlight's on. Then came the moment that tied it all together, that one story from back in the day. Jim remembered being told by a mutual acquaintance, you don't got to worry about nothing, you got 50. Jay-Z doesn't do for his people like 50 does. That comment stuck with him for years, shaping how he viewed loyalty in this industry. And now, it's come full circle. Because while Jay-Z built an empire, 50 built an army, and that difference is exactly what set off this entire chain reaction. The crazy part? This all loops right back to Memphis Bleak, Jay-Z's day one, the original Rockefeller soldier. Bleak didn't even start the drama, but his name got dragged in after Tony Yayo fired shots at Hall during Shannon Sharp's podcast. Yayo claimed Jay doesn't look out for his people like 50 does, using Bleak as the example. That hit a nerve across the culture. Because Bleak isn't just an artist under Jay, his family. So when someone questions that loyalty, it's not business anymore. It's personal. That one statement from Yayo, Jay doesn't take care of his people like 50 takes care of me, sent shockwaves through the industry. Fans could feel the shift instantly. This wasn't just rap talk. It was about who really stands by their people when the fame fades. And for Bleak, that kind of talk cuts deep. The bond between him and Hall goes beyond the studio. It's built on history, blood, and brotherhood. But once that loyalty gets questioned in public, there's no way to go back. The tension's out in the open now, and it's only getting hotter from here. When Memphis Bleak pulled up on Drink Champs, he didn't dodge the smoke. He handled it like a pro. Instead of snapping back, he addressed Tony Yayo's comment with calm confidence, reminding everyone that loyalty isn't about money, gifts, or who buys who what. It's about love, respect, and standing solid when nobody's watching. But when Bleak called out being used as an example in somebody else's shade toward Jay-Z, you could tell that hit a nerve. He stayed composed, sure, but that cool tone masked the tension bubbling beneath the surface. Because while most thought the feud ended right there, that moment actually sparked something much deeper, something tied to heartbreak, history, and a pain the streets never forgot. See, this whole thing didn't just stem from record deals or financial loyalty. It came from loss. Real loss. The kind you never recover from. At the center of it all was Stack Bundles, one of New York's brightest rising stars. Stack wasn't just a rapper.
I seen something Tony Yayo said, Hov don't look out for me like 50 look out for L.
Oh, word, he said that?
I just want to clear that up. Hov don't have to.
Alright.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm chewing the loud on my own. If Hov look out, I'm telling you, I'll be up there.
Right.
So when y'all see me out here, that's the Blizzle budget. But back to you, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I just want to let niggas know Hov don't have to.
He was a movement. His energy, his voice, his originality, everything about him screamed next up. Under Jim Jones's Bird Gang, Stack was destined to be the next big name out of Queens. But before he could rise to that level, tragedy struck. Stack Bundles was shot and killed in his own neighborhood, and that loss still haunts the city today. Years later, Tony Yayo brought that wound right back to life. On Math Hoffa's podcast, he spoke on Stack's death, hinting that Jim Jones could have done more to protect him, maybe even save him from the streets that took him. Those words weren't just shots. There were scars being ripped open again. Because for Jim, that wasn't a random dig. It was personal. He loved Stack. He believed in him. And hearing someone suggest he failed him hit different. That crossed into territory you don't play with: legacy, loyalty, and loss. 3 things that define who you are in hip-hop, especially when it comes to people you once called family. And that's why this beef feels different. It's not just rap talk or podcast drama. It's pain disguised as pride, old wounds disguised as loyalty debates. What Yayo said might have sounded like another soundbite, but for Jim, it brought back a memory he's never been able to shake. The streets don't forget, and neither do the people who lost someone in them. This isn't about fame or clout anymore. This is about ghosts that never left, and loyalty that's still being tested years later. People close to Jim Jones have always defended him, saying he never abandoned Stack bundles. Not once. They say Jim did everything in his power to lift Stack out of the streets. He gave him studio time, financial help, and real industry opportunities. He didn't just co-sign Stack. He tried to guide him. But like so many gifted artists from the trenches, Stack stayed connected to the same streets that shaped him, the same ones that inspired his lyrics, but also carried danger at every turn. For years, fans have debated whether Jim used Stack's name for clout, but Jim's always pushed back, saying it was never about business. It was about love, mentorship, and brotherhood. In countless interviews, Jim has spoken with raw emotion about Stack's passing, admitting that it still weighs heavy on his heart. So when Tony Yayo decided to speak on Stack's name, that hit Jim in a place no diss track could reach. Because for him, Stack wasn't just an artist. He was family. And when you're talking about family, that's a line you don't cross. So the moment Stack's name came up during Jim's sit-down with Memphis Bleek, the calm disappeared instantly. The energy in the room shifted. Jim's tone sharpened. His patience snapped, and you could feel every ounce of bottled-up emotion pouring out. He went off, not in a reckless way, but in a real one. Jim called out Tony directly for speaking on something he didn't live through, saying people love to rewrite history for clicks and views. He said nobody in his circle is struggling. Everyone eats. Everyone's taken care of. Jim's voice cracked with equal parts anger and pride as he reminded the world that he's been the one putting people in position to win. But you could tell this wasn't just another podcast moment. It was personal. Years of grief, guilt, and loyalty collided right there in real time. Now, to be fair, Tony's original point wasn't meant to be a direct attack on Jim's fame or fortune. It was more about the people around him. Tony implied that while Jim's up financially, his crew doesn't always share that same glow. But instead of taking it as critique, Jim flipped it, defending not just himself, but his entire movement. He doubled down, saying he doesn't chase validation or count another man's pockets. "I do what I do," he said. "I don't watch nobody else's money." What started as a conversation about loyalty turned into a full-blown emotional explosion between 2 men shaped by loss, pride, and legacy. And just when fans thought it might cool off, Tony fired back in silence. He didn't drop a diss or go on a rant. Instead, he posted a cryptic image referencing Max B.
The problem is, when she was on the show, she had said that she had heard about you wasn't giving Stack money, but people don't know that when Stack asked you for the bread, you were going to the bank. I think the bank was closed. Something happened, because me and Bino talked about it. I remember being there, and you was going to give him
more money after the money he spent because we was on tour. He like, geez, I spent all that tour money, geez, on Pop, I'm bugging. Whatever he did, but another Porsche, BMW, he like, yo, Pop, geez, you said a closed mouth don't get fed, geez, I'm Pop, geez, I'm hurting.
It's a fact.
And when I told him, I said, yo, go get 25 grand from the bank tomorrow. He like, oh, yo, what's up with that Wrangler truck? I'm like, I left that in Brooklyn. I don't even want that I don't even know what block it's on. Matter of fact, it's by the car shop where I got the Maserati from. He like, you let me get that, G's. I'm like, go take it. You probably got to get a new key. He like, oh, I'm going to go get that tomorrow, G's. You different, G's. And we all know the rest of the story.
Why do you think that people have this misconception of what happened? Why do you think even her? Why do you think that, where did that come from?
Nobody likes to hear the truth.
Because we were there. Bino get mad all the time. And he gets offended And he was one of the people that called me. He was like, that's not true. They think that, what they think is that Stack asked you, that he told you he wanted to leave. They said that Stack told you he wanted to leave, he wanted to move, and you didn't move him out. But that's not true.
You want to hear that story? All right, for Stacks, I was about to buy Stacks to give Max and Melly a whole brownstone in New Jersey. None of them wanted to leave the hood. And I was not about to waste my money. And that was what I offered them. I went shopping for this shit and all that type of shit.
Yeah, we remember that, right, Bass? We remember that. Shout out to Bass. I remember the conversation.
And I'm like, yo, you fucking, you want to, like, you could go to the hood every day, but you're going to be living in Jersey. Like, you're going to be living better than, like, and you don't have to worry about paying for no rent or nothing like that. I'm just trying to get you niggas out the hood. Melly, too. Melly ended up getting shot, right? Like none of these niggas would listen, and everything that happened, that you know can happen in the hood end up happening and shit like that, you know what I mean? But everything to try to protect them for what I know could have happened to them, I tried. You heard? From getting all of these cars, getting all these, everything. You can imagine everything. Private jets to Miami, hundreds of thousands in one weekend, 2 tour buses at Atlanta. Like, cannot front on how I had my boys moving. And I'm only talking about this because you was there, and you and Stacks were best friends. Bino, a couple others and shit like that. Other than I don't even talk to people about Stacks and what went on, but we was sending out. It was not on our level when we was moving. And no.
Jim Jones's former friend turned rival. That one post was enough to light the internet on fire again. Because in this story, everything connects: loyalty, betrayal, loss, and the ghosts of the past that never stop haunting hip-hop's biggest names. Oh, that post said everything without Tony even typing a full sentence. One picture. That's all it took. Fans instantly caught the shade, calling it a quiet but deadly shot aimed straight at Jim. Within minutes, the internet was in chaos. Feeds exploded. Timelines caught fire. Comment sections turned into digital war zones. Half the crowd defended Jim, swearing his loyalty's been solid from day one, while others stood with Tony, claiming he just said what everyone else was too scared to admit. It was a perfect storm. Pride, history, and old wounds all colliding in real time. What most people didn't realize is that this wasn't just a petty back and forth. It cracked open decades of unspoken tension rooted deep in New York's hip-hop DNA. Because those rivalries, they don't die. They just lay low, waiting for the wrong name to wake them up again. And this time, that name was Stack Bundles, a ghost that still lingers heavy over every conversation. For Memphis Bleek. Sitting in the middle of all this was like watching hip-hop history replay itself. What started as a chill podcast convo about loyalty turned into a cultural flashpoint, a reminder how personal this game really gets. Respect and legacy still matter more than numbers or streams. And when the past gets pulled back into the light, it's never just about who's right or wrong. It's about what it costs to stay loyal when the whole world's watching. At the end of the day, one thing's crystal clear. In hip-hop, the past never really stays buried. It just waits for the beat to drop again. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop your thought below. Because this story, yeah, it's still unfolding, and the next chapter's coming fast.